Understanding juridical persons and their residency status for corporate tax purposes. In the context of the UAE corporate tax law, a juridical person refers to an entity that is formally incorporated, established, or recognized either under UAE laws and regulations or under the laws of a foreign jurisdiction. A juridical person holds a separate legal personality distinct from its founders, owners, and directors. This separate legal personality means the entity possesses its own legal rights, obligations, and liabilities that are independent of those associated with the individuals who founded, own, or manage it. Key characteristics of juridical persons. The concept of a separate legal personality is foundational in corporate law and has significant implications. Independent legal status. A juridical person can enter into contracts, own assets, incur liabilities, sue, and be sued in its own name. Distinct rights and obligations. The entity's legal rights and obligations are independent of the personal rights or obligations of its founders or owners. Liability protection. In most cases, the entity's liabilities are limited to the assets owned by the entity, protecting individual founders, owners, or directors from being personally liable for corporate debts or obligations. Residency status of juridical persons for corporate tax purposes. A juridical person is classified as a resident person for UAE corporate tax purposes if it meets one of the following conditions. 1. Incorporated or established in the UAE. Juridical persons that are incorporated, established, or otherwise recognized within the UAE are treated as resident persons. This includes entities registered in free zones, as well as those established under UAE mainland legislation. Examples of such entities include joint liability companies. Companies where partners share joint liability for the obligations of the entity. Limited partnership companies. Entities in which partners have limited liability relative to their investment in the partnership. Limited liability companies, LLCs. Companies where the owner's liability is limited to their shares in the business. Public joint stock companies, PJSCs, and private joint stock companies. Corporations with shareholders whose liabilities are limited to their shareholdings. Foundations and trusts. Special legal structures established for specific purposes, which may include asset protection, charitable goals, or family estate planning, under the applicable UAE laws. All these entities are considered resident persons for corporate tax purposes if they are recognized under UAE laws, including those operating in free zones. 2. Incorporated outside the UAE but effectively managed and controlled within the UAE. Foreign entities, or juridical persons incorporated in jurisdictions outside of the UAE, may also be classified as resident persons if they are effectively managed and controlled from within the UAE. Effective management and control imply that the main strategic and decision-making activities of the entity are conducted in the UAE, typically where senior management or the board of directors convene to make key business and operational decisions. UAE branches of domestic or foreign juridical persons. Branches of juridical persons, whether domestic or foreign, are treated uniquely in the context of UAE corporate tax. UAE branches are viewed as an extension of their head office rather than as separate legal entities. Therefore, no separate legal personality. Branches do not have an independent legal personality and are considered part of the main entity. Corporate tax treatment. Since branches are extensions of their head office, they do not meet the criteria to be classified as resident persons. Instead, they are treated as part of the overall corporate structure, and their income may be consolidated with that of the head office for tax purposes. Practical implications of juridical person classification. The classification of an entity as a juridical person with resident person status has key implications for corporate tax obligations. Worldwide income. Resident juridical persons are typically subject to UAE corporate tax on their global income, including income earned both within and outside of the UAE. Compliance requirements. Resident persons must comply with UAE corporate tax regulations, including registration, filing of tax returns, and adherence to reporting standards.